Hey everyone, it's Darla Kirchner here. How are you guys doing today? It's Friday, and Emily and I are here on our CoBlaboration Show, and we're excited to have you guys here with us and joining us. Thanks for being here. Em and I and two other ladies started doing this just for fun, and it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, let's just see what happens. I kind of begged my girlfriends to get on here with me to check out what is Blab, what's it all about, and I love this platform. I think it's great for helping build your awareness, letting people know who you are, getting a little bit of an inside peek. Since I'm a brand strategist, it kind of goes with what I do. But I love this platform because I think you can meet some amazing people. So we're so glad you guys are here joining us today. So how are you doing?
I am fantastic on this Friday. I love starting my Fridays with our collaboration here and just sharing some of our own personal story, our little bit of insight that we might have, and just to give back to those that are here with us. So I am excited.
Yes, exactly. And it's, we consider this a collaboration between everybody here. So just, I want to leave the seat open so that you guys can join us. If somebody wants to be brave and hop in, you're more than welcome to join us. What we're talking about today is stepping outside your comfort zone. And this is something that I think as entrepreneurs, we're always doing this, right? So I think if you are trying to grow and to be, to grow on the inside, grow your business, grow your yourself, I think that you should always be stepping outside your comfort zone. And that's something I've been dealing with because I've been pushing myself. And that's what I learned, whether it's a success or, and I'm able to get the new client or not, I still learned and I've grown as a person. So what do you think about that, Em?
I am a big fan of pushing the comfort zone, right? I wasn't always though. I guess I didn't really introduce myself, so I can do that. My name is Emily Petroff, and I own a company called Evolve. So I help women business owners, generally women business owners, balance all areas of their life. So their business, their health, and their relationships, everything kind of falls in under those three categories in our life. And so I help them invest in each of those areas equally so that we don't kind of feel like we're on this teeter-totter. And but that wasn't always my story, right? And sometimes balancing really is about stepping outside of your comfort zone, because generally we're really, really good in one area. Like my clients that I have typically tend to rock their businesses, right? Like they're awesome at their business, right? And then what happens as a result of that is that sometimes their health or their relationships suffer a little bit because they're so driven and they're so passionate. So stepping out of their comfort zone might look a little bit like investing in one of those other two areas. So for me, I'm always about pushing myself or needing to have somebody in my life who is going to push me, who is going to challenge me a little bit. And I think that if you don't have that, if you're not growing, you're getting, you're backsliding a little bit, or at least that's my kind of perspective. So.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I'm sorry, I kind of switched up the game plan. I usually try to introduce this to everybody, so people that are new here. So I just kind of rolled with it today. So I think it's a lot of it, because I mean, the people that go, oh, well, my business isn't going where I want, or I haven't lost that 10 pounds, or, you have to look inside yourself and think, a lot of times I've found that, if you stay in your comfort zone, it's fear is holding you back, and you have to address that fear and go, okay. And the more you baby step your way out and push your boundaries, the more happy you're going to be, the more success you're going to have, the more life you're going to live. And so, I mean, there have been times when I've stepped out and it was scary, and I'm glad I did. But I made I had some things happen. It was I couldn't help what happened, but it happened. The economy tanked, and I had to bring my business back into my house. And that was really hard. But instead of just recoiling and staying in my comfort zone and just going, you know what, I'll just stay here because this is safe, I push myself back out again. And I think that makes me a better, I've learned a lot. And so I can help other people. And that's my goal, right? That's my goal, is to constantly push myself so I can help other people push themselves. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am, do you watch Shark Tank?
I do watch Shark Tank. Not all the time, but I do watch it.
Yeah. I apologize for those of you. Do you guys over in the UK, Robert, you can probably answer this question. Do you guys have Shark Tank over there? Do you guys watch Shark Tank? I don't know. Anyway, I love Shark Tank. Like, I don't watch a lot of TV, but I love Shark Tank. Like, I DVR that so that I can, you know, catch up and keep up on and I love it for two reasons. I love it because it gives just everyday people like you and I who are trying to start a business, get in, take their idea and put it in front of people who've already sort of walked the walk, who've already, you know, carved their path, and get some feedback from them and possibly support. And so one of my favorite guys is Damon John. And so when our local chamber brought him here a couple of years ago, so I actually got to see him speak. And oh my gosh, he's just, not only is he super hot, but he's just smart guy, right? I love him. He wrote a book called The Power of Broke, and I'm reading it. And it really is all about pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, right? And not allowing what you think might be something that's holding you back, whether it's money or not having the same opportunities as other people, or, you know, whatever that might look like for you. But using that as a catapult, using that as a way to really, like, it can become, he says it can become your greatest competitive advantage, right? Being broke. And so I think it's a conversation that a lot of people don't have. And I love that he's bringing it, you know, forward, because he came from a very, extremely modest background. And I think that sometimes, you know, we get on in these networking events or even here on Blab, and there's these people who are, you know, they're great coaches, they're amazing, you know, speakers, and they're making, you know, six-figure plus incomes, right? I mean, we just hear millions of dollars, and their coaching fee is $600 an hour or whatever it might be. I mean, it's just, that's not my experience, right? And so I think it's wonderful to have somebody who can connect to people like you and I who are out there just trying to, like, I don't know that I would call my company a startup anymore, but it still feels like that some days, right? And so every day it's about kind of stepping outside of your comfort zone, pushing yourself to that next level. I think we push each other, right? And challenge each other to say, wait a minute, are you sure that that's, you know, 100% accurate? Is there more that you can do? So I love the realness that he brings to the table. And although he's accomplished a lot, I think he's not forgotten where he came from and how he can help people who maybe don't have the financial resources or the backing. You know, one of the phrases that I read that I love so much is he's like, you're behind on your rent. Okay, now what? Right? That can be fuel for you. And so I don't know. I just love that. I think there's more people that can relate to that than people that are out there like, yeah, I got enough money in the bank. Like, I'm good. I'm not worried, you know?
Yeah, I think that's what it boils down to, is relatability, right? Mm-hmm. And knowing that, because I mean, if you come from a humble beginning like that, like you were describing with him, you know, you don't realize what you don't have, and so you're used to not having it. So when you do have something, you're very grateful for it. So I know for myself, you know, that, you know, from, I think it was 08 to 010, 08 to 010 was really bad, but 08 to 011, 012, still pretty bad here in the States, you know, with the economy and stuff. And it was tough. We hit rock bottom, and it was scary. And, you know, but I'm like, you know what? Even then, it's like, I have my health, I have my family, my kids are healthy, we have a roof over our head. You get very grateful for the basic things. And so anything else is just gravy. And so I can relate to that. So it looks like we've got some comments here from Robert. You wanna share?
Yeah, absolutely. He's always so witty, and I wish I had half of that wit, but he said it's taken me over 20 years to be an overnight success.
That's a great one. That's a great one.
And then Julie, I love what Julie said. Julie said it helps, but it's not necessary to have someone who's rooting for you when you step outside your comfort zone. I agree 100%. And I think it is necessary. You're right. May not be the best word or the best sort of phrase, but I think it's extremely important to have that person who you can confide in, who, when you're having one of those just shitty days, that you can call up and say, gosh, I really need somebody to boost my ego a little bit here, right? I need somebody to tell me that I'm not making all the wrong choices, and that, you know, what I'm doing is worth it, right? I think think it's really important to have that person. You can't do it by yourself. And I don't recommend that you do, right? You got to have support in your life.
Well, I think because a lot of times you can't always see, or maybe you don't realize, you don't know what's going to happen either. And neither, no one has a crystal ball. That's the one thing I've learned through this whole life journey so far, is I don't have a crystal ball, but I surround myself with people who have my best interests at heart and will help me. So like, I don't know that, I don't know that you and I have officially ever called ourselves mastermind mates, but we are very much of accountability. And I mean, Emily's one of the 5 people that I would call if I wasn't sure about something, or if I thought I was going to make a move and I wasn't sure about what I was doing. So I think having those people is really helpful for you, and having the right people too, people that are going to lift you up, and they really have your interests at heart. So, whether that's an accountability buddy or being in a mastermind group, that type of thing, or just having somebody that you really trust. And sometimes it's stepping out, somebody who's outside of your industry. Like I bounce some ideas off of one of my oldest friends I've known for like 20 years and just go, what do you think? Mm-hmm. Because she has a different perspective. Mm-hmm. So yeah, looks like we've got some more comments here.
I think it's really important to get perspectives from all different intimacy levels. So Robert said, never ask your better half because they'll be biased. And I think that's true, right? They're emotionally connected to what you've got going on. So it is hard for them to have an objective perspective. But I think it is important because those people are the people that know you probably better than you know you on a lot of levels. And so I think surveying a handful of people that know you in all different facets, so to speak, facets is important, right? I think you've got to gather that information, because if you only ask people that are super close to you, you're not going to get more of an outsider's perspective. If you only ask outsider people, you're not going to get that intimate perspective. So I think surveying a wide variety of people is really important to, getting getting some solid feedback on what you could do differently, or how to get to that next place, how to, step outside that comfort zone a little bit.
And piggybacking what you're saying, I think that is extremely important to do. But I believe that in the end, with all that information and all those people, their advice stuff, you still have to make the decision. It's you're listening to your intuition too, to kind of figure out, is this really something I should go for or not? And, or maybe, taking the advice and kind of like going, okay, I'll take these steps, and kind of going from there. But I always try to listen. For the longest time, I wasn't listening to my intuition. I was listening to everybody else but myself. So I try to balance it out and go, okay, I agree with this and this, and I'm going to, this is the decision I'm going to make, because ultimately it's your decision, right?
Absolutely. Oops, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, there's some people that made some good points. I think Robert said, repeat after me, you're as good as the best and better than the rest. I have that in my office. I love that quote. That's a great quote. Yeah. And then Jody.
Also, yeah, go ahead. I love what Jody said. I think it's really important.
Yeah. It's important to have someone who is aligned with your goals. Some people will give you advice, but that holds you back out of self-interest or fear, often without even realizing it. Yeah, I can see how that can. That's why I think it means aligning yourself with the right people, too. But I agree with what you're saying, and you have to. And sometimes it's hard. It's hard to open up. But that's a lot of times that could be something, just opening up to people, and sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, it's very, very difficult for people, like we give advice or we give our opinion on something based on our experience a lot of times, right? So sometimes, like when he's saying like people will give you advice that holds you back out of self-interest, fear, often without even realizing it. I think that's a huge point, because we sometimes don't even know that we're, like I know I've talked to you, Darla, about things before, and it's coming from my own experience, but I think that's where the internal guidance system comes in, because you may only need a sliver of what I say to pair it with sort of trusting yourself and really, really being mindful of what is truly best for me, because nobody knows what's best for you except you. So you've got to really be dialed in to knowing that and trusting yourself, and then taking those pieces that people are giving you and going, gosh, that really is in alignment with me. That's some good stuff right there. Or, you know what? No, that doesn't really make sense for me. So I think that's such a good point when you're talking about, how can I step outside of my comfort zone? What is it that I need to do, and who can support me?
Exactly. So it looks like Robert and Jody have some other comments. You want to read them?
Yeah, Jody just said family never understood or supported his direction. They're stuck in the wage per hour till retirement mindset, and their perspective is colored. Oh my gosh, as entrepreneurs, it's really hard to have support from somebody who can't understand what being an entrepreneur looks like, right? And although I think there's security and safety, for them, they feel like it's security and safety. For me, I view it exactly the opposite, right? Like, yes, sometimes I'm like, gosh, wouldn't it be great to have a regular paycheck this month instead of like, I'm hustling to try and get myself, to that next level. But at the same time, like, I know it's super hard for me to live in that environment and not to have the freedom and flexibility to live my dream and to be passionate. And at the end of the day, for those people, they're questing after safety and security and making sure that they have enough. And for me, I also want those things, but it's in a different way, right? It's about supporting my dream, and it's about growing other people, and it's about how am I contributing to the world in a bigger way. And so I don't think one is neither right or wrong. I just think that when you talk about alignment and who you surround yourself with and who's supporting you, they have to understand the entrepreneurial mindset, because if not, you can easily walk away from an experience going, shit, should I just close up shop today and go find a job, right?
Yeah. And that's, I think everybody here is agreeing with you. And I know, I do. I think just by being entrepreneurs, we're stepping outside our comfort zone. We're stepping out what most people, what the norm would say is their comfort zone. And there have been times when I've, struggled with that. And I've got friends that I'm dear friends that go, I don't know how you do it. I couldn't do it. I'm like, to me, I was in corporate, and yes, it was safe. I had security. I had a great job. I traveled. I had a company car, blah, blah, blah. And it was great. But I always knew even then that was not the end of my journey, that I was not going to always be in corporate. And so, when the opportunity and the door opened, I leaped. I went for it, and I did it. And I've never looked back. Now, yes, I had a wonderful experience, and that's helped me along my way, but it's not, I don't necessarily think that I would ever want to go back to that. That's not in my repertoire anymore. So, but I think it's really interesting to talk about, because a lot of people, they think of us as, we're going for it. We're out there. And so, yeah, kind of cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And don't you think that, although you had the cushy job and maybe the corner office and the car and the safety and the security, the thing that's always off for me about that is that it's somebody else's vision, right? It's somebody else's dream. It's somebody else's thing. And so there are those of us who live really are great in that environment, and that's exactly what fires us up. But for me, I don't get as fired up about that as I do about contributing and building something on my own. It's sort of like, maybe it's the difference between, this is a weird analogy, but I'm going to throw it out there, the difference between building your own house and buying one.
Yeah. Well, because you have control over it, and that you're right. I was blessed to be in an environment where it was very learning. People, it was a good environment on some levels, but then you have politics and all that stuff that I don't ever miss. Yeah, I think in the end, I think it's in your blood, when it comes to it, when it comes, my grandfather was an entrepreneur. He started his own bakery. He moved, talk about stepping outside your comfort zone. He left Germany left his whole family to come to the United States to have a better life. And so, I mean, to me, that's huge. I mean, that's a big leap. He left everything, his inheritance, everything, to start a new life. And he did it. He did it. So, you know, I think it comes, you know, some of it comes innately, comes in, you know, in your heritage too. So, because you have the same thing.
What's that?
Don't you have the same thing? Your parents have their own business.
Yeah, I actually am a 5th generation entrepreneur, and I agree. It's in my blood. And even when I've been in corporate roles, I've been in a role where I'm supporting small business, right? I'm supporting somebody's like, let's make this thing grow. Let's do something crazy with this. Let's, you know, so it's always, I've always found myself in a position where from some avenue, some area, I'm supporting somebody else growing their business. And it's always been, that part's very rewarding to me. And I think that's why being a coach is such a good fit for me, because as I say that it's somebody else's vision and somebody else's, I love supporting somebody else's vision. I love supporting somebody else's, but from the entrepreneurial, like I love supporting entrepreneurs and growing their business, knowing that at the same time, I'm doing the exact same thing as they're doing, right? So it's almost like we're walking this journey together. It's not like, hey, I'm over here as the expert, so to speak. I don't feel like I'm an expert necessarily in anything other than just like, here's been my experience. These are the things that I've done that have worked. These are the things that I did that completely effed everything up. And maybe there's some value that somebody else can take away from that. And so I agree with you 100%. I think that, you know, for some of us, it really is just in there. And maybe it is from growing up in the environment that we grew up in. And maybe for some of us, it's just about a dream, right? It's about hearing our parents say, God, if I had my own thing. You know, I have a client who just told me the other day, she grew up listening to her parents talk about their dream of owning their own business, and they never did it. And now they, you know, now she's like, I'm doing that, and I'm doing it not only for me, but I'm doing it for them. And so, you know, sometimes it's just about, this is the dream, right? And when you kick the bucket, or when you're on in the last few hours of your life, like how do you want that to look for you, right? For me, it's not about the company car, the cushy, you know, side office and being safe and secure. It's about, I freaking jumped off the cliff, baby. And, you know, a couple of times I was building the plane on the way down, you know, so that's
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's interesting you say that, because that's something that I totally agree with you. Because I think that that's something that people don't, just, you know, jumping. Sometimes you just have to jump. You just have to jump. And maybe it's not jumping off a cliff. Maybe it's jumping off a step. You know, maybe it's a small baby step. So that's how I look at things. You can start small. You don't have to take a nosedive. That's something too. So yeah, so it looks like we've got some great conversations going over here.
So Julie said that she's done a lot of genealogy research, and she's in total awe of people who pick up their life and move to a new country. Oh my God, me too. Me too.
Yes. Me too. Yeah, I have to say, yeah, that's very cool. And I think that's what I always look at. It's like, in the end of my life, have I lived my best life? And the only way to do that, I have found, is by taking those steps to constantly challenge myself, to doing the things that maybe I didn't think I would do. I mean, I remember when I was in high school, I started doing speaking, and when I was in the corporate world, and I found I loved it. But if you would have asked me that in college, I would have thought you were insane. So things happen at a time too. I think that makes a difference too, but you have to push yourself, and it's, little things. So now I'm getting back into speaking again. I'm like, you know what? I really miss them. I think that's something that I can help serve other people in a bigger way. And so that's something that I'm pushing myself to do. It's not always easy, but I'm doing it. And I start small. It could be, I've done things in people's living rooms. I'm working on something in a studio coming up in the next couple of weeks. And so, I think little things, little steps, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Robert said, all journeys need a first step. Just make sure you know which foot will be starting the journey. And I think, Darla, you made a really, really important point earlier. I am always the one who jumps off the flipping cliff. I don't ever do anything small, right? Like I go big or go home. Like that's just part of my personality. People that know me know that's Like, I don't really dip my toe in the water. Like, let's just freaking jump in and see if I can learn how to swim real quick or tread water like crazy, right? But I think you made a really excellent point, because not everybody has that same, like, that. And that doesn't mean that you're not an entrepreneur, that you're any better or any worse, right? Like, sometimes it really is. Sometimes I wish I was a little more calculated with my choices, right? Sometimes I'm like, and I think Blab was a great example for me. Like, all kinds of marketing decisions that we make, that might be a way that you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. Like, at first, I mean, I'm not super shy if you couldn't tell, but at first it was like, I'm going to learn how to podcast, and I'm going to be a podcaster. And everyone's like, well, don't you kind of have to, like, get a plan together for that? Don't you kind of need to prepare? I'm like, hell no, I'm just doing it, right? Blab was the same thing. Periscope, you know, I mean, so I think there's like, but you don't have to be that way, right? You're so good. I think we balance each other out really well, because you're so good. Like, we'll talk about, so what are we going to talk about on Blab next week? Or what are we going to talk about in 2 weeks? And Darla's the one who's like, okay, we got to prepare. And I'm like, hell no, like, we have a lot of stuff that we can talk to people about. Like, we don't have to prepare. Like, I'm prepared. Let's go. Let's just do this thing, baby. So it brings this really wonderful balance of, like, just here I am shooting from the hip, right? And it's worked out. And you're so good at really making sure that everything comes together and that we have plans.
I think that's what goes with aligning yourself with the right people, because and going with your intuition. Because when you and I met 3 years ago, I mean, that in itself was kind of scary for me too. Because I'm like, you know what? I'm going to invest in this program. This is what was it? 2,000, 2,500? I don't know. It was a chunk of change back then. 2,500. Yeah. And she and I both invested in this, and we didn't know each other from Adam. You know, and we met there. And it's like, you know what? I like surrounding myself with people like Emily, because she challenges me. She pushes me outside further. And so I love that. I love her high energy. And so sometimes it's just, stepping outside could be aligning yourself with the right people that are going to help you get there too. So, yeah.
I think you're transitioning into a wonderful conversation that I know you have been talking about to your tribe of folks. And so I think it would be a great time for us to talk about that. Conferences, right? And how being in an environment like that can be somewhat intimidating. And so do you want to talk a little bit about that first?
Sure. This is going down. Sure. That's something too. It's like, I know I've done a couple of them. That's the one thing I have to say about being an entrepreneur and working online a lot. I do a lot of virtual stuff. So I love that, but I love people. I love being around people. It's one of the reasons why I love Blab, because I feel like we have that interaction. We can actually talk to each other. It's, it's my preferred live streaming platform, because you have instant. So I love, having the engagement with the people that are here and talking to them and all of that too. So it's the same thing for me with conferences. And sometimes you have to push yourself outside your comfort zone in a conference. You go there, you want to get the most out of it. So you have to push yourself out there and say, hi, my name's Darla. I'm a brand strategist. This is what I do. What do you do? And get to know people and try to meet those people and make connections and, build relationships and all of that stuff. And then, and then move it forward from there. So it's, conferences, I think, is a great way to push yourself out. For sure. That's something that I'm doing more of now. When you and I met, that was such a big conference. There were like almost 900 people there. So, it was hard to wrap your brain around so many people. And it looks like a lot of them were just like, that was their job. They were experts at being at these conferences. And so when Emily and I connected, it's like, oh my goodness, I found somebody that I can relate to, that I feel like I can, build a relationship with and get to know better. And I want to get to know her more. And I've, since then I pushed myself at the last conference I went to, which was back in November. It's like, I met some women before the conference and started talking to them on Twitter in the group, pushed myself out there. I mean, it's just little steps. It doesn't have to be big ticket items, but I started having conversations saying, who's coming? I'm looking forward. This is my first time. I met these women. There's 4 of them, and we still communicate. We still talk to each other. And so we hung out there at the conference. We met other people. I pushed myself there and said, okay, I'm going to meet 3 people today. And just little things like that, just keep constantly doing it. So, and I think the more you do it, the more you practice it, the easier it gets.
I would agree 100%.
Yeah. So I'm not seeing all the messages. There are things happening
I'm not seeing messages either. Like I tried to, I know I can't refresh my screen now, but I'm like, this is weird.
I'm sorry, guys. This is really weird. So if you guys are leaving messages, I'm sorry. It's not, if you put the Q in front of it, if you're leaving messages or something, maybe we'll see it on the other side. Because I know I've commented to Jody's, which his was comment back to yours about I built a life on I've made a life building planes on the way down. That's awesome, because that's kind of what Emily was talking about. But I'm not seeing anything past that.
I'm not seeing anything after I responded to that. So yeah, that's bizarre. Sometimes the beauty of technology, right? It can be so wonderful, and then sometimes it can be so challenging.
And sometimes you have to keep in mind we're in beta, right? So keep that in mind for sure. I'm going to go ahead and send a quick tweet out. So, so going back to one of the other tips I would say, as far as like, doing baby steps and doing it on a regular basis. If you make stepping outside your comfort zone part of your habit and forcing yourself to do that, I think that it will come easier to you for sure. Yeah. What do you think about that, Miss?
I absolutely agree. The thing that oh, that's weird. Did I?
What?
Can you hear me now?
I hear you.
Okay, there's some weird stuff happening today. I would absolutely agree with you 100%. The thing that I would add to that is that I think you have to have an accountability partner in some way, shape, or form, right? Because it's one thing for you, and you don't have to have it, but I think it's very, very helpful. It's very, very beneficial, right? So if I call you up and I say, hey, I'm going to jump off this cliff, I just wanted somebody else to know. Then in 2 weeks when we talk again, you're probably going to say, so how did jumping off that cliff go? And I'm going to be like, oh, well, let me tell you about that. I didn't do it. Or, yeah, I did it and it went really, really well. I mean, some of us are better than others at pushing ourselves, but I think when you tell somebody, when you put it out there, it does make it even bigger for you, a bigger reason or a bigger push for you to really execute whatever that step might be. One of my mentors, he does the RAGBRAI every year. Does anybody know what the RAGBRAI is? Okay.
Yes, I do. My sister-in-laws and my brother-in-laws do it. They've done it like 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
Yeah. So the RAGBRAI is a bike race across Iowa. And so you start at the other end of Iowa and you ride your bike like 50, 70, 100 miles a day. And you camp or you stay at hotels and along the way, all the way back over to the Illinois border. Yeah. So it's a pretty big deal. It's a whole week.
Yeah, 7 days of that. And
biking.
So my mentor, when he did it for the first time, this was years before I ever met him, but he would tell this story often, how it was, he's like, I've never rode my bike more than 5 miles or 10 miles, right? It was like, he wasn't an avid biker, but one of his buddies, and I think that the story went like it was at a Super Bowl party or something, that they had a couple of beers and his buddy was like, hey, you want to do this thing with me? And he was like, sure, I'll do that. And then the next day he woke up and looked at his wife and said, holy shit, what did I get myself into? Like, I can't ride 100 miles a day or whatever it might be, right? And so he trained and he said, the first step was riding 20 miles in one day or consistently 10 miles a couple of times a week. And so as he began to train for this, and those of you who are athletes and have maybe trained for a marathon or know people who went through that, I think this process is similar, but we can draw a lot from it in terms of business, right? Because sometimes it's like we have to expand our comfort zone. And once he got to the point where he was comfortable doing 20 miles at a time, then that was in his comfort zone. Then he had to step out and expand again. So there's always another level. There's always another place that we can go to push ourselves. And I think he's been doing that now for, gosh, it's like for the last 10 years or something. And maybe he's only missed a handful, 1 or 2 years in the last decade of doing that race. And it's all, it all started out of just being okay saying yes to something, or maybe not knowing what you were saying yes to, and then saying, you know what, gosh darn it, I'm going to do this. I'm really going to execute this. So.
Well, and it doesn't, I piggyback on the health thing and going from, being an entrepreneur and all that stuff. My word is centered for this year. So I'm all about trying to make sure that I'm centered and I'm staying in that area, that I'm not, because I'm very service oriented. I always want to help everybody. So a lot of times I'll give and give and give and give, and then I don't get in return. And I wonder why I'm unhappy. Well, now I know. Or why I'm not successful, or why I haven't gotten, the bigger projects or whatever it is. And so my goal is being very centered. So one of the things that I'm doing, stepping outside of my comfort zone, is being healthier. And Emily's helping me with that. So, I started a new program, and in it, I was like going, oh God, I really, it's kind of scary, but you kind of set the right mindset and go, you know what? I'm doing this to be healthier. I'm doing this to be better. And, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to do it anyway. And so I'm so excited that I did. And, she's very honest. She's like, Darla, the first 4 or 5 days of this program are going to suck. You're going to hate them. but I got through it. And, and having her help, be there really helped me. So if you guys are looking for a program, talk to Emily about that. But it's something that, it could be, I think health-wise, every little time you do that, it just goes, you know what, I did it. It's an accomplishment. Mm-hmm. So when you're stepping away from your fear and stepping outside your comfort zone, it helps you accomplish these goals that maybe you didn't think you could do before. And so I think that makes you a better person all the way around, a healthier person, a happier person, all that stuff too. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I think that you make a really, really good point, that you need that person that can be there for you, that can say, like, this is going to be challenging, but we're going to keep going here. And I think that, what it triggered me to think of was when you and I you took me through the ideal client profile that you do, and really developing, that for your business, right? Having an ideal client, and what does that look like? And man, for me, that was really, really tough, right? And so it can be. So I think that's the important thing here. It doesn't matter what area of your life that you need to have some growth in, or that you need to step outside of your comfort zone in. It can be there, but really make sure that you have those people that, like Jody and Julie said, are really in alignment with what it is that you want to accomplish. And I think they also have to be willing to kick your ass a little bit, right? They've got to be willing to step out there and say, now, okay, yes, this sucks, or this is whatever, but like, come on, keep going. Like, it's enough. Like, pull up your big girl panties and let's get out there and do it again. Right? So that's important to me, to have that sort of, I always think of, like, the difference between, for those of you who watch Biggest Loser, I used to watch that show years ago, the difference between Jillian Michaels and Bob. I can't remember what Bob's last name is, but and I always appreciated Jillian's perspective, right? Like, she was the ass buster. She was like gonna kill you in the gym. So I think that I appreciate having somebody who's not afraid to challenge me a little bit. It's not always about patting me on the back. Sometimes it's about kicking me in the ass a little bit.
Yeah. And I think that you'd be surprised if you open yourself up, that you'd be surprised where that can come from. Mm-hmm. So someone who's, it makes you look at different perspectives and stuff too. So, like, I feel the same way. And recently I just really stepped outside of my comfort zone. And it was because of my mastermind and my accountability buddies that said, Darla, do it, go for it. And I had one person who I said, I've got this opportunity. It's not in my repertoire of where I'm used to. It's not working with startups and entrepreneurs and people who want to brand themselves and build a more professional look and image online, and they want to build their reputation. This is with the city. So I was offered this opportunity, and it's way outside my comfort zone. I know I can do the work. I'm not afraid of that. It's just, I feel like I have that David and Goliath thing, little me competing with these big, big people. And I'm like, you know what? I came, and it's because I've had the people like Emily and like, a couple of the other ladies that are in my mastermind groups are like, Darla, go for it. What do you got to lose? You have everything to gain and nothing to lose. So I'm going for it. So I've worked really hard on a proposal and I'm pushing it out there, and we'll see what happens. And I really have a good mindset. It's like, if it works, my husband's 100% behind me, and he's like, if it works, then great. I've covered everything. If it doesn't, I've learned. And now I have a great template that I can use for my other clients and to help build from here on out. So either way, I feel like I have a pretty good perspective on it. And I think that's, but by having those people push me, I may not, if I was on my own, I probably wouldn't have done it. I probably would not have done it. And I had one person who said, is this in line with your ideal client? Because I've talked to them so much about knowing who your ideal client is. And I'm like, you know what? That's a great question. And I don't know the answer to that because I've never worked with someone like this before. So I won't know unless I work with them to see. But I know the potential. I also know, the issues and the challenges that will come up with it. I'm just trying to prepare myself as the best I can. And we'll see what happens.
So, Darla, I'm going to hop out for a second and refresh my screen and see if that allows me to see the comments, because I agree that's super frustrating that we can't see the
see what's going on. And then, and for some reason, it wouldn't let me let you be a guy. I don't know what the deal is with that. It wouldn't let, today, I think Blab is off today, guys. I apologize. It's a little frustrating because we want to hear your comments, and we want to make sure that we're letting you guys in the conversation. So if somebody wants to hop into one of the seats and we're talking about stepping outside your comfort zone today here on the show, we'd love for you to do that. I don't know why it's not letting us do that. And now it looks like I may have lost Emily. I'm hoping that I haven't lost, I've got connection, so I don't know what's going on. This is the first time this has ever happened like this. So can you guys hear me? If you can hear me, give me some props and let me see if I haven't lost you guys. I don't know what's going on. This is really strange. I'm going to do the same thing and hop in and hop back. Thanks, Julie. Robert, I think, is hopping in. He's going to be brave. He's hopping in. So we're sorry, guys. This is take 2. We had a little technical difficulties today. Oh, Robert went back out. I thought he was in. I didn't. It's unlocked. Okay, so Julie's coming in. Okay, and Robert's coming in. I hope you guys are coming in. I am so sorry. That's the first time that's ever happened like that before. So we're.
Yeah, I've never had that happen before either. Hi, Julie.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Hey, it worked this time. I've tried a couple other times, but it was like you guys weren't seeing me.
No, we weren't seeing you at all. We're just talking away. Did the conversation just stop?
No, we heard you.
Oh, okay.
It was kind of weird though, because your audio was super delayed, or your video was super delayed from your audio, so it was like a really bad old movie.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Watching a really bad old Japanese movie. Well, glad you joined us.
Yeah. Hey, this is a great conversation. I figured if we're going to talk about jumping or outside your comfort zone, I should probably hop on the Blab, right? Because
props for you. Yeah. It's scary. I have a client that I worked with, and she's like, oh, I don't think I can do it. Like, we'll go into the test zone. Baby steps, right? And so she went in there with me, and there were other people that came in, and she's like, this is not bad. I think it's our fear, right? It just gets going. So we're glad you're
And I was thinking, when you decide to step outside your comfort zone, I think you think you're going to be doing one thing, and you so often end up having to learn and do other things along the way. So that might even make it scarier the next time, because you don't even know necessarily what you're getting into.
That's true.
It's like this whole online venture. I've been a psychotherapist for 10 years. I've been in my office. I'm pretty comfortable with that. I've decided to branch out into the online world, and it's an entirely different universe. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm sort of feeling my way and learning a lot.
Well, good. You know what? I'm going to keep inviting Robert, so I'm not trying to, it's interesting. It is very different, but I find that the more, most people are just like us, right? They're just trying to learn and grow and stuff too. So Robert, you're on. Yay.
Yes, I had to restart the computer.
Okay.
It's just technical difficulty day.
Well, you're probably having a blonde moment or something like that. But I looked on a couple of other blabs and they were having the same problem. So.
Okay. Good to know.
Not just us.
No, it's not you. Definitely not you.
Yeah.
So,
I think I wanted to respond to. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I just want to ask Robert, is this your first time on Blab too?
No. Been insulted a few people over the months, so no, not my first time.
Well, this is Julie's first time being on screen, so we're excited that she's here. Yeah, she stepped out.
Yeah, every journey needs a first step.
That's right.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely.
I wanted to comment on something that Julie just said that I think is really, really important. She said oftentimes when you step outside your comfort zone, you actually end up doing different things than what you thought you were going to do. And sometimes that might make it even more scary. And I think that's very, very true, right? I think that the skill set that we sometimes acquire as a result of doing things in real time when we're scared out of our mind is crazy wonderful, right? And then at the same time, the next time we're like, crap, what am I going to have to do this time, right? So, I mean, I think that's a really, really important part to getting used to. My mentor used to say to me, if you're not a little bit uncomfortable, you're doing something wrong. And I'm like, oh, God. So now every time I don't feel uncomfortable, I'm like, God, what can I do to make myself uncomfortable? You know? And I think it's a challenge. It was a challenge for me to get to that point.
Oh, yeah. Last September, I volunteered weekends on a steam railway. And I've been a member there for 12 years. And they've finally persuaded me to stand for the board. So I'm now a director and a trustee of the charity. And ye gods, talk about jumping out of your comfort zone. It's quite a shock.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it is.
And I don't get paid either, which is even more of a shock. But there we go.
But you didn't quite know what you were getting into, did you?
Well, yes. I mean, I've been there long enough to know what's involved, but it's interesting. I'm learning a lot and making a lot of good contacts as well, which is a bonus.
Well, so
but
then
not why we did it.
you are having success there too, and that's how I look at it too. When I did a lot of volunteering and was on boards and I loved it, but then I'm like, okay, I have to. The more you do, the more that they want. It seems like too. So I had to step away a little bit, but I got a lot out of it when I did it. So.
Yeah, I think if you're not careful, what you start doing as a favour can often become the norm and be expected.
This is true. But it's right. It's good to make contacts and stuff too. And that's why, I mean, being here on Blab, Julie, just to give you a little story. When the first Blab that I hopped into was with a gentleman by the name of Ian Cleary. Do you guys know who he is? He is
no.
He's the online guy, and he has been his name of his company is called Razor Social, and he was on a Blab, and they had open seats. And I had been in the comments section for a while, just kind of figuring out what Blab was all about and stuff. And he's like, he wants to hop in. And he's like, Darla, do you want to hop in? Because I was making comments. I'm like, okay. I hopped in. I just stopped talking. It was like, I could feel my whole face getting redder and redder. Then he asked me so tell me what you do as a brand strategist. And I'm going, and I just forgot everything. So it was really pretty scary. And I'm like, you know what? But I survived. We were able to make it through. I was on it for a few minutes, and all I could think is, oh my God, I'm on here with Ian Cleary. He's the nicest guy. I've met him in person, but it got me to keep doing it. And so when for me, I stepped out, kept doing it again by asking my friends. So it was still comfortable, but we were doing it together. So to me, it's a lot more fun if it's a team effort.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Plus, of course, there's somebody else you can blame if it goes wrong.
Exactly. It's not Ellie's fault. No.
Different situations and different environments will challenge your norm, right? And so, you talked about speaking earlier, and I think that that's a very important thing to sort of highlight, because I had the same experience, right? I've been speaking for a long time, and then sometimes when you get into a new environment that you're not maybe familiar with, or it's a little bit less comfortable, people that you're not, I don't know, it's different when I speak in front of a very large audience than when I speak in front of, say 30 people. That's a very intimate experience, right? But I think sometimes you can get into that space where you're like, what the hell did I just say that for, right? I mean, it's just, so it does challenge you and keep you constantly on your toes. Yeah,
but don't forget the old saying, will you? There are 3 ways to pass a message: telegraph, telephone, and tell a woman.
Uh-huh. I have heard that before.
I have not heard of that before either. I have not heard that one before. Have you?
Well, it depends how quick it's popped across the Atlantic, of course.
Yeah.
Because humour doesn't travel well. It loses a U as it goes over your side.
It does. And it depends on where you are in the country, too.
I mean, as I was saying earlier, I'm looking at employing somebody your side of the pond, and I'm just amazed at how low people's expectations are to what they're going to get. It's quite worrying. It really is. And what I want to offer them, they say, no, that's too much. You know, it's amazing me, actually, how low people's expectations over there are as to what they're worth and what they should get.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. That's a whole other topic. That's a whole conversation itself about stepping outside. Is stepping outside of, what you think what your worth is. And that, so I'm sure Emily has some thoughts on that too.
I won't go in on a soapbox about that today, but holy hell, do we have a huge self-worth issue over here in this country.
I'll give you an example. I was talking to a lady on Skype because the nearest I'm going to get to interviewing people is via this medium. And she said, well, what do I get? I said, well, you get 5 weeks paid holiday. You get an iMac to do your job, and I'll pay for your internet connection. And she burst out crying. And I was quite shocked. She said, but I'm not worth that. Yes, you are. In the 5 weeks paid holiday, they thought, can't have that. No. But that's what we have over here. And if I've got somebody over here, somebody over there is worth exactly the same. Mm-hmm. But they're just so much, they just don't think they're worth it.
Right. Well, the programming is different, though. The programming is different, right? So we're conditioned to believe certain things based on our environment, based on our society, based on, the things that we're exposed to on a daily basis. So for me, for example, I was raised in an entrepreneurial environment. So owning and starting a business wasn't scary to me. Like, it was like, this is just, it's fine. It's easy. It's not that hard. That's my belief system, right? I can do it. Not that it's not going to be challenging, but to send in the $70 or whatever it is to, actually own a business, right, and have that going it's not hard. It's not challenging. But for somebody who didn't grow up in that environment and who grew up with a environment of people who were very security, and wanted to work at the same company for 30 years and retire there. And, that was part of their value system. Starting a business is a daunting task. And it doesn't matter if it's a direct sales business where they have a plan and a formula laid out for them, or whether they're doing, whether they're bootstrapping a startup.
Well, I started in retail back more years than I care to remember. And I was in it for 17 years. And I started off as the poor little lad who cleaned the tea machine Monday to Friday. Mind you, I got first choice of a cup of coffee at the end of it, but that's beside the point. And I finished up as a regional area training manager for computers. Great. And then we had a big bust-up with them. And you suddenly find at middle age you're unemployable because the people are downside cheaper than you are. Mm-hmm. Because the one thing you'll find when you offer peanuts is it's very easy to employ monkeys. So I went self-employed, and it's the best thing I ever did. It's great. I love to be able to sack clients. Mm-hmm. Idiots I can just get rid of, and it's brilliant. Whenever I deal with an idiot, I always think that at least I'm going to get rid of them. Some poor devil's looking forward to them going home at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. But best thing I ever did. But my parents, one worked in a sweet factory and the other was a coal miner. So about as unentrepreneurial as you can get.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there we are.
There you go. So what about you, Julie? Do you come from an entrepreneurial background?
You know, I always thought I kind of did, but I don't know. My dad was a chicken farmer, and so he didn't really ever work for anybody, but he also had this mindset like he did everything himself. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs deal with having to outsource and kind of step outside that comfort zone of letting go of doing all of the work themselves.
And that's true. That's something too. That too is another stepping outside your comfort zone, because a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we're used to doing it all, right? And you think, okay, I can't. No one's going to do this as best as I can. Well, there's some things that, when it comes to like accounting, that is not my strong suit. I'm fortunate that I have a husband who can handle that for me. So he does all of that for me, and he's been doing it for years. But, things like that, I've had different VAs in the past. I've had great experiences, and I've had some that haven't been so great. But, having outsourcing, I think, is very smart. And staying in your lane. I mean, a lot of people don't realize, that they need the help that they need. And so, that's why it comes in handy to have colleagues and have people that will help you to think about things like that, or, it can give you pointers there. Because especially when you're working online, there's a lot of things behind in the backside. There's a lot of stuff to set up. You're going to be doing programs, you're going to be offering things, you're going to be doing webinars and videos and all that stuff. There's a process behind it, and it can sometimes feel like you need an army. But you don't.
Unfortunately, in my case, there's only me. I trade from the back bedroom, and I always have for the last 20 odd years. And a lot of my customers come and pay me at the door, and we sit in my kitchen, we have a coffee and a lump of cake. And that's how we do business.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. I mean, I've been fortunate to working with people by referrals and getting it, somebody who knows somebody. And I always want to do the same thing. I'll go meet them at Starbucks or something and talk to them if I can. Now, sometimes I'll be working with people that, they're across the world. So my best version of that is either hopping on a Zoom contact meeting with them and just to get to know them a little bit better and kind of, make sure that they understand. Communication is a really important thing. So when you're working with anyone and being organized can help you.
As I put in a comment earlier, I think that's the difference between Blab and Periscope. On Blab, you communicate. On Periscope, you broadcast.
Totally agree with you there. Totally agree. That's the reason why I'm here.
The one thing that puzzles me about Periscope, actually, is how we see so many people's faces. Because most of them are so anal, I'm surprised I can see them. They're just... They all sell the same stuff to each other. And I'm convinced that the only way to make money on Periscope is to write a book on how to work on Periscope.
And people have made a lot of money.
I always say it's the same meat but different gravy. And they just amaze me. I mean, they're all telling me on there that I've been doing things wrong for 25 years.
Well, obviously you haven't been, because you've been doing your work. You're doing your own thing. You're having success doing what you're doing. So
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, and a lot of times that's the best thing. That's success to me too. It's not making a million trillion. Yes, you have to be able to make your ends meet. Yes, you have to be able to keep the lights on. But it's it depends on what your division, your version of success is. And finding out what platforms are right for you, which is kind of going off topic a little bit. But stepping outside your comfort zone and trying some new places, and finding out if it works or not. Like for me, I stepped out in Periscope and did Periscope when it first started, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna start videoing, and that wasn't easy the first time, and I really should get back on there and try it again. But I didn't find my platform there. It didn't feel right to me. So I think you need to stay in your lane, stay in your zone, find the right places for you too.
One thing that puzzled me actually with Periscope was the last Periscope conference I've heard nothing about. Nobody's mentioned a word. And the previous Periscope conference to that, everybody was discussing it on Blab and not on Periscope.
Yeah, I haven't heard much. I haven't heard much either, honestly. I really haven't.
It went very quiet.
Yeah,
but here we go.
And I don't know if they're going to be having another one. I don't know. I haven't heard much about it. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this whole Facebook, the Facebook Live thing, too.
I must admit, if they had a Periscope conference and it was in this city, I probably wouldn't go.
Oh, really? Well, and I think that really boils down to where you think you should spend your time too, and finding out where to focus. So, for me, it's like I find that Periscope is, it's great and a lot of people love it. It's just not the platform for me anymore. I'll get on there every once in a while, but other than that, I use Blab. So what about you, Julie? Have you been on Periscope?
Once.
Yeah. There's a lot of what?
It was an interesting experience.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, even if I don't jump on a Blab, because this is the first one I've been on, I just enjoy the back and forth more.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm so glad you're here. You're doing great. Your lighting is fabulous, by the way, honey.
Oh, well, it's totally random. It's probably the time of day.
Mine is terrible. It's getting dark and I've only got the angle lamp on, so. But I've got the ideal face for radio, so it's not a problem.
Stop it. You're so funny. No, we're so glad you guys hopped on. We really are.
Yeah. We're at the top of the hour here, so we should probably wrap up so that we can all get back to our busy days and our busy evenings and moving into the weekend.
Oh, yes. Yeah, well, I've not got a free weekend now until November, so I'm all right.
That's what you were saying. That's crazy, but wonderful.
But it's enjoyable. You meet a better class of idiot at weekends than you do in the week. And I enjoy it. I work for myself. I sit here in the office. I don't see anybody all week because I never answer the door to religious callers or people wanting me to take a parcel for the neighbour. So it's just nice to get out and talk to people.
It is, and that's what I love about Blab, because you get to.
I mean, that's the one thing you miss working for yourself and by yourself is there's no social get together. There's no nipping round the drinks machine, condemning the management over a Mars bar or something.
Right.
Actually, not that part, but I actually agree 100%. It can be very, very lonely. And so these experiences, maybe that's why I like it so much. Every Friday I know that I'm going to get on here with Darla and sometimes some of the other gals that are part of our group and then you all. And we're going to just have a very organic and interesting conversation, and I just end up floating into my day feeling like a rock star, and it's so fun. I love it.
Oh, this is the end of my day, unfortunately. It's 5:05, so I'm now on overtime. So
Thank you so much for giving us that extra hour of your time, Robert.
Well, I was actually going to send you a bill, in the vain hope I'd be paid. But no, I have fixed business hours, and my Saturdays and Sundays are sacrosanct. That's it.
Good for you.
Good boundaries. You're with boundaries. Oops, sorry. Okay. You're with a group of ladies who happens to value themselves, so we might be sending you a bill for being here today, sir.
That's not a problem. If you send me the bill when it's in the post, so is the check. So it's. But I think one of the most important things working for yourself is actually to have fun.
Absolutely. Yes.
I mean, I know people who work for themselves go, oh God, another day. Oh, I've been doing this 10 years. Oh God, well, go and do something else.
Exactly.
It's just I just can't see why people do something.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 years ago I would now have retired, but the government's made such a foul up of things. My retirement age is now 66 instead of 60. I should have got my free bus pass, and I don't. All I get is free prescriptions. It's terrible. I call myself a probationary pensioner, but I can't see the point of giving up when you reach a certain age. I really can't.
Yeah, a lot of people work. I have an uncle who's I think he's 68 now, and he gets up and goes to work every day because he just loves to work. So, I don't see myself ever really retiring because I love what I do.
Down the railway, we have a gardener, and she travels about 40 miles to the station. She's 86.
Wow.
And she travels by 2 trains and a bus. And I said, I hope when I'm 86, I'm as fit as you. She said, you do serious exercise, you just might be.
There you go.
So, I mean, I enjoy it, and when I cease to enjoy it, I'll pack it in. I mean, I've got some customers over your side of the pond.
Good.
And I want somebody over there to handle the admin and stuff like that.
Oh, there you
go. But when I pack up, whoever's working for me over there, I will give them the company over there, because you can't just chuck them out. Sure. You can't say, well, that's it, I'm packing in, bye.
Right. Right.
So I will give them the company when I pack in, but that might be many years to come. If the wife had a way, it would probably be tomorrow, but no. And she's actually on holiday next week, so I'll get absolutely nothing done. Not a thing.
Balance.
No. I always have the last word in our house. It's always yes, dear.
That's a great answer.
You know. So, Darla, what are any fun plans for the weekend before we wrap this up?
I think I'm actually going on a date with my hubby tonight. I haven't seen him much because so I'm looking forward to that. I really am. He's like, because you want to go see a movie or something? Let's have a date. I'm like, sure. So I'm going to do that. Super Bowl's this weekend. So here in the States, it's all about the football, the big football thing. I don't really care about football, the game. I'm there for the commercials and the halftime. So I'll be doing that. I'll be sticking to my little diet. So I've already told my friends about that. So So I'm looking forward to that. And I would just say, as far as like my big thing to wrap up this our conversation on stepping outside is, don't let the fear stop you, and just take baby steps. So that's what I would say. So I'm so proud of Julie for hopping on here with us and staying on here with us. And yay! So proud of you, honey. Really am. So glad to see you. So that's me. What about you girls? What about you? Who wants to go next?
Go ahead, Miss Julie.
Oh, I've got a Skype date with my girlfriend in Washington, D.C. I live in Portland, Oregon, and so we're on opposite coasts. And we're planning a trip to Disney World in May. So we're getting on and hammering out the details. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yay, Disney World. Very fun. Very fun. So do you have any tips on, if you have one tip to leave us with as far as stepping outside your comfort zone?
I like the small steps and small wins, because that gives you the courage to keep going.
Yeah, that's great. That's perfect. I'm going to use it as a quote, because I think I think you have to go with your own tuition. What works for you, but as long as you're constantly challenging yourself, so that's great. Small steps, wins. Perfect.
Yeah. And never look behind you. Never look behind you, because while you're looking behind you, you might walk past something that you miss that's in front of you.
Yeah. That's great.
And also remember, you're as old as you feel. The wife asked me that the other day. I said, "Are you as old as you feel?" She said, "I said, yeah. Well, I feel like an 18-year-old." She said, "Well, you're not having one."
There you go. So, do you have any other tip on stepping outside your comfort zone, Robert?
Yes, those who say it can't be done shouldn't disturb those of us who are doing it.
Ooh, love that. Can always count on you for a great quote. That's great. That's great.
That's only because I look them up on the internet. You see, Google is your friend.
Google is my friend. Google is my friend. I'm very close. Google and I are like this. So what about you, Em?
What is that phrase that a friend of mine all the time? GTS. Google that shit. I actually have to tell you a story, but we can't talk about it on Blab, about what I'm doing this weekend. So I'll give you the shortened version. I have a few meetings. I'm going to work a little bit this weekend. I am going to, I'm going to read and just kind of have a chill weekend. Last weekend was a little bit busy for me, so I'm looking forward to a little bit of a downtime. So, or I hope. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. So you have a tip to share with us?
A tip. You guys have really just covered it all. I think the most important thing that I can say, and I've said it already and we've already talked about it, but just to kind of hit it home again, is have someone that can give you that extra nudge when you need it. Have somebody in your on your side, in your court, whatever you want to call it, that can really be there to say, wait a minute, you're better than that. Wait a minute, you have a little bit extra. You got a little bit left. You can do 10 more push-ups. You know, you can walk that extra step. You can, you know, because when it's all said and done, those are the things I think that we hang our hat on. Those are the things that we can say, like, I did that, you know, and I think everybody wants to have a little bit of an experience like that. So.
They do. They do. I know there's a quote, you know, I'm a big quote girl. It's a quote that I love, and it says, step outside your comfort zone. That's where the magic happens. And it is. No matter what you're doing in life or in business, that's where the magic happens. That's where I've always found it happening. So yeah. So on that note, I think we'll close up for today. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. We're so glad to have Julie and Robert in the house.
It's been an experience.
Yes, it has been. Yes, it has.
And I will leave you with a tip for Periscope.
Okay.
It is better to keep quiet and look an idiot than open your mouth and confirm the fact.
Heard that one. Yeah.
Yes, I would agree with you. That's great. Well, thanks you guys for joining us. We're so glad you guys were here. Sorry about the technical thing. That's why, you know, Blab is still in beta. So we keep that in mind. But I'm gonna put this over on my website over at Darla Kirchner. I'm gonna pop in here if anybody wants to join me. If you guys want to put your information in here so people want to connect with you, then please do. Since you join us, we appreciate that. So yeah, and just know that, you know, we're going to be here next Friday. I do believe Kate's going to be joining us. Robert, you might get a kick out of Kate. She lives outside London, and so she joins us at the end of the day, and so she has.
Next week we'll decide on what the wife's got organised for me.
There you go.
I won't know my diary until she tells me.
Until she tells you what it is, and you'll say yes, dear.
Oh yes, dear. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. She's my driving force. Unfortunately, she doesn't have a license, but there we go.
You may also want to consider a second revenue stream for your business, which would be teaching men how to have the perspective that you have on getting the last word in. Yes.
Well, I will let you into another secret, because there's nobody listening to Blab, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, Nobody will know this other than us four. Even if Julie is sitting there looking very serious, that's better. Smile. This year, I've been married 30 years, and the wife was the first woman I ever took out.
Aww.
So there you go.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Awesome.
And not only that, when we went to get the wedding license, I didn't have any change, and she actually bought it. So she keeps saying she actually got a dog license, but and she also says that I have no children and she has one, and that one is me. So anyway, thank you, ladies. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thanks for joining us.
It's been most enjoyable. I've been outnumbered, outmaneuvered. But yeah, I've enjoyed it.
But you have been feeling a little outnumbered and outmaneuvered.
So there we are.
Good. All right, guys. You guys have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys.
Yeah, you have a great weekend as well.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you guys next week. Take care. Bye, Julie.
Bye.
Bye, I will talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.